You know what's funny? Brian Flores, you know the Rooney Rule? Brian Flores is suing the NFL, right? He's like, oh, black head coaches don't get a fair chance. They don't get a fair chance. The guy started the season 1-7, seven straight losses. For the people who think Brian Flores is a good coach, come on. He's a good defensive coach, not a good head coach. And the Dolphins or the Giants, here's the problem. Brian Flores was the victim of the Rooney Rule twice. The New York Giants, he went in for an interview there because of the Rooney Rule. They only brought him in for the Rooney Rule, and they knew they were hiring Brian Daboll, who, by the way, did a fantastic job with the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen. Did anyone see the remarkable job Brian Daboll did with Josh Allen and Buffalo Bills? A great coach. And the fact is, Brian Flores' offense have always been stagnant in Miami. And then in Denver, John Elway looked disheveled, disinterested. You know why? Because you were the Rooney Rule. Right? You were only brought in because of the Rooney Rule. So naturally, he didn't look like he was into it because he knew he wasn't going to hire you. See, that's the problem with the Rooney Rule. The Rooney Rule is the dumbest thing in the world because Brian Flores was a victim of it twice. If the Rooney Rule wasn't put into place, Brian Flores would have a legitimate job as a head coach because if someone actually brought him in for an interview, you would know that he had a legitimate job. But now they brought him in. You know it's just a Rooney Rule. They had to get an African-American guy in there just so they can appease the Rooney Rule, and he had no shot at it. He was the victim of it twice, and I think that set him over the edge. But Brian, I was going to say let's call a spade because I always say that, but someone else say, oh, he's racist. But anyway, I'm saying anyway, let's call a spade. You're a good defensive coach, not a good offensive coach. Your offenses have been stagnant. That's just the facts. You lost 7 straight games, effectively ended your season early after 8 games. You were 1-7. Now, you won the last couple games, whatever, but they wanted to move on in a different direction. And, I mean, you just have to accept that. And I understand he's mad because he was a victim of the Rooney Rule. He was. I mean, the interview with the Giants, they knew they were hiring Daboll. And the interview with the Broncos, they probably just said, we got to get an African-American in here to appease the Rooney Rule. See, that's the problem with that rule. It's the dumbest rule because a lot of African Americans are going there and they know they have no shot at the job, and they're just like a scapegoat. And John Elway basically wasn't interested because he knew he wasn't going to hire him. Now, who knows? They might maybe they'll hire someone like Byron Leftwich. I don't know. But it's the dumbest role in the book. And I see these people on TV crying about it, like Stephen A., Jeff Saturday. It's like they want every coach in the league to be African American. Why, if I own a business and I want to hire the best coach available, why does he have to be black? The Browns had a black head coach. He was 3-31 in 3 fucking years. 3-31, the worst coach in football history. And he was African American. The Pittsburgh Steelers employ a black head coach for the league. He's the only one left. Oh, he's the only one left. He's 3-8 in his last 11 playoff games. He is the worst coach in football, the most overrated coach in football. In fact, the only reason nobody ever calls him out on being 3-8 in his last 11 games, because if that was anybody else, Mike McCarthy or any other coach, they'd be saying, well, he's 3-8 in his last 11 playoff games. But because he's African American, he's got that little shield, that protection, right? He's got that privilege. You can't make fun of him because you'll be accused of racist. And you know I'm right. The bottom line is, Brian Flores, you're a good defensive coach. You're not a head coach. Good head coaches don't go through 7-game losing streaks. That's just the facts. Now, as far as Stephen Ross wanting to pay him $100,000 to lose games, to me, that sounds a little bit low. I think if someone's going to ask you to lose games, being a billionaire, they would pay you more than that. But I don't know. Maybe there's validity towards it. If they find out, I don't know what the punishment will be, and I really don't care. But the bottom line is, Brian Flores, to me, is not a good head coach. A good defensive coach, but not a good head coach. There's been plenty of I think I've seen a statistic where the total winning percentage of black head coaches in the National Football League is something like 370-something. That's just not good. That's just not good. Why should an organization, a billion-dollar company, hire an African-American just because there's a rule that sets out to say you have to enter? It doesn't make sense. If you're a billionaire and you own a business, you should hire whoever you feel comfortable with. And if Brian Daboll, you feel comfortable after watching what he did with that miraculous Buffalo Bills offense, then you hire him. I would never hire Brian Flores based on his offense. On defense, I would, but I'd never hire him as a head coach. I would hire Byron Leftwich. I would hire him. To me, if I owned a franchise, my guy would be Byron Leftwich. I would hire him as a head coach. I think he would be a good head coach. That's just my personal opinion. I wouldn't hire Eric Bieniemy. I don't think Eric Bieniemy is a good coach. That's all Andy Reid. So just because Brian Flores wants to cite racism in the National Football League doesn't mean there is. There's no merit to this lawsuit. He's not going to win it. He's a pariah. He may get another job in the National Football League. I don't know. He'll probably never get a head coaching job again. Like I said, if he was a good head coach, I would hire him. But I just don't think he is. Good head coaches don't lose 7 games. Now, he did come back, but he started the season 1-7. The season was effectively over. He should have been fired after the 8th game. Stephen Ross actually should have fired him then. He would have had more validity. Going 8-9 does warrant being fired, though. He took a step backwards. Anyways, I'm just sick of hearing about this racism stuff. It's false. They want you to hire African Americans now just because, oh, there's racism. Well, it's not racism. The most qualified person. Then they're citing National Basketball. There's a black head coach of the National Basketball Association. Well, that's because the National Basketball Association is probably 99% African American. National Football League is probably about 60% African American. All right, they hire the best coach available, white, black. I can guarantee you they hire the best coach available. So I don't know. I'm tired of seeing it on TV. The Super Bowl's coming up. No one cares about this false narrative of racism. There's no racism. They put that. You know what they need to do? Get rid of the Rooney Rule. You know I'm right about that Rooney Rule, because when you're a black head coach, you know you have no chance at a head coaching job when you go in with the Rooney Rule. If there's no Rooney Rule and you get a coaching interview as an African American, you got a chance. If the Rooney Rule's in place, you already figured yourself you got no chance at it, because you're just a token black guy getting interviewed. And you know I'm right about that. So the Rooney Rule has done more harm than good. They need to just get rid of it. Brian Flores was a victim of it twice, and I think it set him over the edge. Now, he said looking at his kids put him over the edge because he doesn't want his kids to go through this. Well, yeah, Brian, it would be a shame for your kids to make like, what, $7 to $8 million in their lifetime, because that's good money. I don't know who's $7 to $8 million. You are suing a franchise or an organization that allowed you to make $7 million in your lifetime. Not a smart move, Brian. I'm dismissing the case.